You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogdon.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I am your host, Ralph Brogdon, taking you into the exciting world of being a rebelpreneur. We give lip service to the idea of the importance of having a brand. And I think intuitively we know it's important, but when I look at a lot of the brands that are portraying themselves on the internet, it seems that our behavior is not lining up with our belief. We know that branding is important, but when it comes right down to it, we really don't know, and I don't think we fully appreciate just how important it is and just how much money you're leaving on the table because you've not correctly branded yourself. I was in a meeting once with a prospect, and we were talking about the importance of branding, and he leaned back in his chair and he says, well, branding to me is yada, yada, yada. He really didn't have a clue what branding is. And so I wanted to bring in an expert on branding so that we can really dial this in and make this happen in our business. I'm so happy to be speaking today with Michelle Garside, who is the co-founder of Soul Camp Creative, a full-service marketing agency devoted to working with conscious companies and brands that are positively impacting the planet. Michelle and their companies have been featured in Oprah Magazine, Travel and Leisure, Fitness, Women's Health, Good Morning America, ABC News, Parents, Fortune, Inc., and Forbes. Soul Camp Creative mixes strategy and heart, science and art, practicality, and magic. What a great company and a great brand to experience. You just have to go to the website and experience it. Michelle Garside, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Oh my gosh, Ralph, thank you so much for having me. What an honor to be here talking about my favorite topic, all things branding. I love it.
Absolutely. And it is so needed. We were talking offline about looking at some of the people who are really gifted and really have a desire to help people and to create a business around their passion. But when it comes to branding, it's absolutely painful to watch. It's like a train wreck in slow motion as we consider their visual and their the different marketing collateral that they have. So you work with coaches, teachers, healers, wellness practitioners, retreat centers, wellness facilities, and basically any purpose-driven organization that's looking to empower people to live happier, healthier lives. And I wish I could introduce you to every single organization and coach that I know because they need your help. First of all, help us out. How should we think about branding? And when you're thinking about maybe just a solopreneur or a rebelpreneur, an individual coach, maybe the mentality is still kind of small-mindedness that, well, branding's for big companies like Starbucks and McDonald's, but I don't really need branding. Tell us what branding is and why it's important for the people that you're working with.
Yeah. I mean, the best way I could describe branding, and it's one of those words that, people have a million different immediate recognitions when they hear it. So the way that I describe it is it's the way that your consumer feels about you at every touch point. So part of branding is, of course, your website, your logo, the colors you're using. But that's not the only part of branding. It's also the words you use, the messages that you're using, the way that you put forward your photo styles. It's, when someone is like, as soon as I started talking to you, Ralph, a few minutes ago, I immediately got a feeling of who you were, right? The way that you spoke is part of your brand. The tonality that you use is part of your brand. So is the music that comes on when you introduce Rebelpreneur Radio. That's all part of the brand too. So the best way I can describe it is through different touch points, how you make your consumer feel. That is what a brand, the magic of a brand. So like for Soul Camp, everything that we do is with a very playful, soulful, magical edge. So at every touch point, be it, our social media accounts or our website or just talking to me or my business partner, you get a feeling of that essence, and that is that brand.
That is so well put. And it really cuts through all of the mumbo jumbo and gets right to exactly what a brand is. And so based on that, it's critically important because we are in a relationship driven economy, especially with coaches, teachers, healers, people who are doing business with people. And I've always said that people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. That's certainly important in any kind of a helping business, like coaching or consulting, especially purpose-driven organizations and heart-centered services. So I love branding. Automatically, you and I are in sync. I have what I call a 4V approach to branding, and it touches on all the things you just mentioned. There's visual, vocal, vibe, and value. So the visual is how you look. Vocal is what you say, your message. Vibe is how you make people feel. And then the value, because no matter how great you look and sound and make people feel, as a business, you've got to be able to communicate the value to other people, or you just have a hobby. You don't have a business.
Absolutely. And I love, and, all of those V's and, be it through your website or be it through, the words you speak, the way that we at Soul Camp Creative really, hammer home is that it needs to be aligned. It needs to be cohesive, and it needs to be completely authentic to who you are. One of, a story I tell all the time is I spoke to this coach on the phone, and she was awesome. She was New York City, sassy, in your face, curse words, like very like calling no BS on your limiting beliefs and your stories, and really in your face. And I was like, wow, what an amazing, cool coach you are. Let me go check out your website and kind of see what's going on here, because you're not filling your programs and you're not, making the sale. And I went to her website and it was like, namaste. Welcome to your City of Calm. And I said, well, Coach Angela, or whatever her name was, of course you're not making the sale. And of course you're not filling your programs. Who you are on your website is completely not aligned with who I am speaking to on the phone right now. Where is this sassy language? Where is the gritty NYC visuals? Who you are needs to be represented in every single area. So, especially for those solo entrepreneurs, and especially for those who are service businesses where people are going to be actually working with you, to your point, Ralph, people want to work with people that they like. People want to work with people that they know. People want to work with people that they trust. So when there's an incongruency between your messaging, when there's an incongruency in the essence of what you're relaying to your consumer, they feel that. And it might not be a very conscious thing, but it's an unconscious feeling of distrust. And you lose people. And I always say, your people are looking for you. Specifically you. And so and I work in the marketplace of wellness and personal development and self-help and companies doing good. And 10 years ago, if you said I'm a life coach, you were the only one in the room who was a life coach. Now, flash forward, there's 50 life coaches in the room. So in such a saturated marketplace, you really need to represent who you are authentically, because there's a million different life coaches, a million different authors that someone could go to instead. I think a big mistake that a lot of my clients make, or a lot of people that are coming to an agency like ours are making, is they're trying to portray themselves in the way that they think that a coach, or the way that they think that an organizational, whatever they are, should be. And they're not being completely true and authentic to who they actually are. And in doing so, their clients aren't able to find them.
That's such a great point, and very, very accurate observation in terms of what's going on in the helping industry. As you said, a few years ago, there wasn't that much competition for a life coach. Today, everyone's a life coach, and so you've really got to create something that is unique, that's different, but is congruent with who you are and what you're portraying yourself. What you portray has to actually be who you are and not just an avatar of who you think you are or who you think people want you to be. And so this is so fascinating. And Michelle, you didn't come to these realizations overnight. You have a long history in some very high-powered a very high-powered background of marketing and branding. Tell us a little bit about how you got started and what was the origin story for your agency?
Yeah. So, well, first and foremost, I grew up with a mother who was an entrepreneur and who was very involved in the person. She was a psychologist. She ran a spiritual retreat center. She led so many different groups and events throughout my whole childhood out of our house. So I grew up with this whole background of doing good, personal development, this world that I'm now in. But like so many kids with parents, they run as far away as possible from whatever their parents are doing. And I did too. And after college, I left into the world of big pharma. I worked at some really, really huge marketing and advertising agencies, Ogilvy and Mather, Gray, Klein Davis and Mann. And I was lucky enough and guided enough that almost all of the drugs, all of the pharmaceuticals that I worked on throughout my early career were all in phase 3 clinical development. So what that means is that they weren't yet out on the market. So the branding work that I was doing was years in advance of the commercial being on television. It was coming up with the messaging, coming up with the positioning, coming up with how is this insulin different than all of the other insulins? What do we want people in Latin America versus North America versus South America to think and feel when they see this color, to think and feel when they see this key message, to think and feel when they see this logo. So it was all the pre-development, platform development work with millions and millions and millions of dollars under our belts to do focus groups, to travel around the world, to really create this blockbuster drug. And so my whole career really was in developing that upfront mass market brand. From the tagline, the positioning statement, the messaging maps, the target demographics, who we were to those target demographics, the personality and attributes of the brand, all of that upfront strategic work. And, I had my own, I was in that for years and years and years. I grew very, very quickly up that corporate ladder. And like so many of my clients that I work with now, I had my own spiritual awakening, kind of wake up call after I had gotten so far in this career. I bought an apartment in New York City. I was in my late 20s. I was like living this life and had this just wake up of like, wait a minute, this isn't right. This isn't the career. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. And it was around the time of Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love had come out. And I very dramatically, because I'm a very dramatic person, left my career, sold my apartment, went off to India by myself with hopes of trying to figure out who can I be? What should I do? How can I help people utilizing the skills and my expertise that I've honed over all of these years? And I came back and I started helping my fitness instructor out of a gym in New York City, Equinox. And I was like, wait a minute, can I help you with your branding? Can I help you with your marketing? And she was like, oh my gosh, I had just come from Johnson & Johnson. She was like, please, yes. And slowly but surely, she started announcing Michelle in her fitness classes. Michelle started a company where she's helping fitness instructors with their brands, and she came from Johnson & Johnson. And I had a little savings. I sold my apartment at a loss because I was just like, I need to start anew. But I had a few months of figuring it out money to figure it out before I needed to go back into corporate. And I always told myself, listen, if this doesn't work, I'll just go back into corporate. I'm really great at this. So like, I'll always get another job in this industry. And slowly but surely, I started building my repertoire of personal trainers and fitness instructors and cyclists, and the word spread and the word spread and the word spread. And then, slowly that turns into authors, and then that turns into relationships with very big publishing houses. And I've been doing this since 2011. So it's now, 8 years later, and I work with some of the biggest authors in this, personal development space, and, the incredible folks on the Today Show. And, we have some incredible clients. But it really started from this place that's, again, so many of my clients are in, of like, I want to live a life of purpose. I want to live a life on purpose. And how can I take what I know and transform it and transmute it and translate it into a career that I feel like I'm helping people every single day, and not I'm just a keg in the machine. So that's how that all started.
What an incredible journey. And I really love how your background, your search for purpose, how all of that synergy just comes together into your business. soulcampcreative.com is where our listeners can go and check this out. Michelle, what would you recommend to someone who is listening to the conversation and I think they're persuaded of the importance of branding, but they're not sure where to start? What can someone do right now to begin moving in the right direction with their branding?
I mean, well, first, of course, you can always go to our website and see how we can help. If you're not at that, stage yet, and you're really at the beginning of the inquiry, how I work with all of my clients, I first ask them to write out, what does their life and their business look like today? And then if anything was possible, because everything is, the fact that I went from working in insulin to working with some of my favorite authors, if anything was possible, what would life look like in a year? What would you be doing with your time? Who would you be working with? How would people feel about you? What are the people that you want to be working with? What are they going through? And a lot of people have, come to me and they're like, my target demographic is 29 years old, New York City, female, making this socioeconomic step. And I'm like, all right, I don't work that way. The way that I really tend to ask people to hone in on who they are supposed to be working with and how they're supposed to be helping is asking them, who were you a few years ago? What were you going through a few years back? What guidance, what, mentorship, what help, what product would you have needed back then? And what would you have needed to hear? So really having them just start with like assessing where they are now, really stepping into the visualization of like where they want to go. And more than anything, and most importantly, how do they want the people that they're speaking to, the people that are reading their book, the people that are listening to their podcast, how do they want those people to feel? What are those people going through right now? What were they themselves going through just a few years back? And really starting to like excavate and dissect all of that information, because the number one thing that I create with people is their brand platform. And the way that I see that is what is the essence of this brand that does not change no matter who you're talking to, that does not change no matter what book you're writing, that does not change no matter what room you're walking into? What is the overall umbrella essence of the brand? Because so many people come to me and they're like, I'm so all over the place. I want to speak about this and this and this, and I want to coach about this and this and this, and I have these many books up my sleeve. And I always say, okay, well, what is the common thread throughout all of it? And usually that common thread is how they make people feel. So really getting to the root of like how they want their demographic to feel. And a tip that I love to share, and I wish this was my tip, but it is not. It is from Laura Bell Gray, who's an incredible, incredible copywriter. I heard her speak once, and she said, when you're writing copy, or in this case, when you're thinking about your target demographic, when you're thinking about what they want, imagine what they're wishing for on their birthday cake. So for instance, I work with a lot of like nutritionists and healthy food guides and things like that. And a lot of them are like, my client is looking for, I want to help people receive an integrative approach to nutrition. And I'm like, well, let me tell you something. I would never blow out a candle on my birthday cake and wish for an integrative approach for nutrition. Never. I would blow out the candle and say, I really wish that I could feel awesome when I go out on a date.
See, that's the thing, and I just got to jump in here because that resonates so much with people. When we try to put out a message or put out some messaging or something on the website, very often coaches, consultants, they get into the bad habit of talking about their process as if that's what people are looking for. And process is important, but people aren't looking, like you said, for the integrated nutritional blah, blah, blah. That's how you package and position. That's your process, but they're looking for the end result. They're looking for the feeling. And what I have found, and tell me if this is your experience as well, that if you deliver the result, and if people feel like they can get a result, they don't really care what the process is for the most part, as long as it's going to get them to where they want to be. You can take them through any process you want, but you've got to speak to them in terms of their outcome, their result, how they're going to feel at the end of this.
Absolutely. And we're a feelings-based culture, right? Like, we're a feelings-based culture. We want to feel good. We want to feel different. And so like really speaking to that component, no one cares about your integrative process. I mean, you care about it, but no one else really does. Like if you are able to sit them in a room and snap 3 times and they're able to, change the way that they speak to themselves, awesome. I would keep paying someone to do that. Like, that's such a good point. It's like really being able to differentiate what matters to you versus what actually matters to your consumer. And a lot of people feel like, listen, I need to legitimize myself. I need to have credibility. And there's ways to do that is not in so many words. That is not in so much content, that is really all about you. There's a great company I'm sure you've heard of, Story Brand, where that really helps to put the brand in the seat of the guide as opposed to the hero. So often, people, when they're writing the copy for their website or social media or, making a sale, they put themselves as the hero of the story. I'm going to help you do this and this and this and this. Like, you're going to, through working with me, like, I'm the one who's going to take you from this to this. And what this concept of story brand and what really resonated with me was actually, no, your consumer wants to be the hero of the story. Your consumer wants to be the one that is able to, change their life and change their body. You as the brand, you as the one they are paying, you're the Yoda here. You're the guide.
That is so amazing. I mean, that's worth the price of admission right there, just to get that little bit of wisdom from you. Don't make yourself the center of the story. Make your prospect, make your potential client, make your audience the hero. What a fantastic point of view and perspective. That really, man, if you would just do that and just think about your messaging that way, and then every other decision you make it with that center in mind, instead of like I see a lot of people do. They've got 50 different titles. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a yada yada yada, and after the 4th or 5th one, you kind of tune out and lose interest because people don't care about you. They care about the problems they have and the results they want. And so this is just, I feel like we could go on for hours, Michelle, because you're such a wealth of information. But I want to give you a chance to share with our listeners if you're working on something right now that's got you really excited that you'd like to let us know about.
I mean, I will just say my clients, and listen, I'm doing this myself right now. Like my clients really are the heroes here. Like we are working with some incredible folks who are coming out, who have gotten incredible books coming out that are really going to change the paradigm of the health and wellness or mindset shifting space. So we're developing some really, really big brands right now. And that's what we do at Soul Camp Creative. We start with creating, who you are, who you're for, how you're differentiated, helping you really define your unique positioning in a saturated marketplace, developing your tagline, your vocabulary, the personality of your brand, who you are to people. And then after you have that solid, platform, then we go on and create the logos, the look and feels, the brand guidelines, the custom websites, the affirmation cards, the book launches, all of that. So we have some amazing things coming up with regards to our clients. And I would love also, I mean, I don't know when this is going live, but I'm giving a free webinar on August 18th at 7 p.m. With an incredible expert in helping people authentically sell. She was one of the head of sales over at National Geographic, and now she is going to be just chatting with me all about how to people in the health and wellness space, how to have them sell. So that's something I'm excited for too. But I have to tell you something I'm really excited about, which is not even business related. I am a huge fan of community and gathering community. And I did that with Soul Camp, the brand that we created from Soul Camp Creative, which were these very large scale, 300 plus people, 4-day, 4-night, mind, body, spirit, sleepaway camps for adults. And we're taking a 1-year hiatus away from that just because I had my own little baby recently.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. His name is Riker, after Commander Riker of the Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a Trekkie.
Yeah, so am I. Great.
Oh my God, that's a whole other conversation. But anyway, I missed the community aspect so much of just what we were doing with Soul Camp. I started a supper club, and I have such amazing people in my network, from book agents to top veterinarians to chefs and it's just my greatest joy to be able to get people in rooms throughout New York City to meet people they never would have met otherwise. So that's something I'm starting in all my spare time.
Well,
yes.
With everything else you have going on, and then to have a new child as well, you really have your hand in a lot of different things. I encourage our listeners to go check out this website, soulcampcreative.com. If you're struggling at all to visualize the power of branding, you've got to go to this website and look at their client portfolio of the different people that they've worked with and what they've been able to do. And it is, well, I can't do it justice by talking about it. You've just got to go see for yourself. soulcampcreative.com. And this will give you a visual of what's possible for you, what's possible for your brand, what's possible for your business. And I hate to always use that phraseology of taking your business to the next level. I usually say take it to the next dimension. But however you want to characterize it, if you really want to get a vision for what's possible, go check out that website, soulcampcreative.com. Michelle, this has really been mind-blowing and mind-stretching. I feel like we're on the same page, talking the same language, and it's really been a pleasure to get to know you. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom you'd like to leave us with?
My favorite words of wisdom, just for me to always remember for myself, and I love saying this to other people as well, is when you change your perspective from life is happening to me to life is happening for me, everything changes. And, and what that looks like is every single thing, the frustrations, the loss of clients, whatever might come your way that you might deem as negative, if you really see that life is actually working for you, you get to see everything differently. So I invite you to do that.
Excellent words of wisdom from Michelle Garside. She is the co-founder of Soul Camp Creative, a full-service marketing agency devoted to working with conscious companies and brands that are positively impacting the planet. Find out more at soulcampcreative.com. Michelle, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate you being on Rebelpreneur today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogdon. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.